This week we are talking all about alcohol markers, and in this video we're going to take it one step further with another technique you can do with these amazing markers. Let's take a look at it. Here are the card samples for my most recent video where I showed where you can basically just scribble with these amazing alcohol markers and get this pretty blending and then add something simple over top for some beautiful card ideas. Today we are taking what I showed in the last video, these backgrounds, one step further with a really cool technique I think you're going to love. So I hope you stick around and watch. This does not take long at all to do this technique, and you'll get to see how it turns out. And then I have 5 more card samples at the end. I want to show you how I've used this technique in a lot of different ways and come up with some really neat projects. I'm going to start by creating that background, creating a background. I'm going to create one that looks a little bit like this, and this will come together quickly. So the colors I'm using for this are Orchid Oasis and Starry Sky. So I have a light Orchid Oasis marker, a dark Orchid Oasis marker, and then a light and a dark of my Starry Sky. So we'll do a little bit of scribbling here quickly first. We'll go from light to dark. And then to do a little bit of blending, we'll go back and go over these from dark to light. So after I've gotten my darkest one, what I like to do is go back and go over the next. So I have my next lightest one, the one that was right here, and I want to go over the dark and the same color of this marker, that next lighter one. I want to give it a little extra attention right here where the 2 colors come together. That's where it needs the most help blending. Now here is the color that I did right here. So I'll go over that again, and I just got myself confused for a second. Right, we'll go from here down. Does that ever happen to you? If you're lucky, you're just not on video when it happens. Okay, so we'll go from that light to the dark, and then here is my lightest. Start at the top and come down, blend into this next color. And again, I give a little extra attention right here. Now these don't have to blend perfectly. I think they look really neat even when they don't. But we could stop there, or sometimes just for a little extra blending action, I actually bring my lightest marker all the way down to the darkest area. So now that we have that done, let's let that dry for a second while I explain what we are going to do. We are going to do some spritzing with some masks to get a neat effect, and we're going to use a spritzer full of rubbing alcohol. Now I shared a technique here not too long ago with alcohol marker backgrounds where you do some spritzing, create some really cool stuff. So I can link you to that and several other blends alcohol marker videos below where you can pick up on some blending techniques and just some other techniques, kind of like what we're doing today. So we're going to put a mask over top. I am going to use this mask for this particular project, and then we're going to spritz with that rubbing alcohol. You can probably guess what is going to happen. If you want to tape this down, you can. That is totally up to you. I did on several of mine. What I found was if I just hold it and I'm careful, I don't really have to. It saves a little bit of work, not. So I am holding my spritzer probably 6 or 8 inches away. And this is just something kind of fun to play around with how much spritzing you do. I probably just did 8 or 10 spritzes. You can do less. I don't know if I would do more unless you play around with it. More might get to where that alcohol is actually bleeding before it starts to dry. So let's get these out of the way, and then I'll bring this up close and see if you can see what has happened. Are you able to see that that color pattern from the mask is getting a little bit lighter over top of that background? It gives us a really cool technique. Now, right now, you may also be able to see that the pattern has kind of raised up on my white area over here, but that will dry here as soon as that alcohol dries. So let me show you some samples I've created with this. I think this is just really fun, gives a really cool background technique, a little bit different from just coloring with the markers alone. So I'll show you several of these and explain how I created them. So all of these masks are from the same mask set. I will link to all the products I've used in the video description below, and you can take a look at them if you're interested. But here is one I thought was interesting. This mask set comes with these two label shapes. So I colored this piece, and what I did, I colored it, and then after I was done coloring, I actually cut the edges off. So that's why you don't see the white edges here. But I spritzed over this part. I wanted to make sure this was covered up, and spritzed over this with that alcohol, let it dry. And then the greetings I've used on all of these are from this Biggest Wish stamp set that I love. I have used it a ton, and I decided to use it on these projects today. So here's the happy birthday card. I thought that was a really nice masculine card. Here is one. This one is very subtle, but hopefully you'll be able to see it. So on this one, I used this mask. And are you able to see that pattern there? So this pattern, what was behind here is a little bit darker, and the rest of it lightened up a little bit. So there's a second sample. I have 3 more I want to share with you. This one was kind of fun. So I had this big square mask in the set. So I used it once. I thought this would be a really fun way to create the look of plaid. So I used it once, let's say right there, and then I shifted it. I let it dry a little bit, and then I shifted it to this other area, and I spritzed again. So if you look closely, you can see kind of that look of plaid, or all those squares that are overlapping. 2 more samples. This one, I really love this mask. I thought it created a really neat pattern on the background of this card. And this card I created with the mask we just used on this sample right here. So I hope this gives you a fun idea of something you can try with your alcohol markers, or if you haven't added any to your collection yet, maybe this will be one more thing you want to try if you do sometime. Thanks so much. I hope you have a blessed day. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. Hope to see you again next time when I'll be back helping you to hand make with love.